Hello everybody, Ben Woodruff here with another falconry video. This video I am going to be talking about hunting ducks with eagles. It's kind of a weird topic, and one that I haven't seen online before or even in a book, and one that I have passionate thoughts about, and some interesting experience about. Before I jump into it, you gotta know what I'm starting talking about with some of our local eagles, and what I'm going to end on is going to be entirely different. So really, I want to talk about logistics and then talk about my dream species, what I believe would be the ultimate eagle to hunt ducks with. But if you haven't already, if you could hit subscribe to the channel, I very much do appreciate it. And with that, jumping into it, first of all, I have to say, I've had some interesting experience with eagles over the years. I have trained eagles in falconry, golden eagles, and I have also trained eagles for education on education permits I held. And I have also trained bald eagles for my own education permits. And I've trained bald eagles and golden eagles to help for zoos and wildlife organizations that do things like that and help them with some of the husbandry with that. And I've also helped with eagles with wildlife rehabilitation. So these are kind of very different looks into the mind and capabilities of a bird. An eagle that's missing a wing, that's hopping around a display in a zoo isn't something entirely different than an imprint eagle or a whatever. There's so many different things. And so I have some odd perspectives on it. I live in the United States. Here we are with a lot of red tape and a lot of paperwork allowed to fly golden eagles. And we're also allowed to fly exotic species that are captive bred that are already here in the States. Now, bald eagles are our national bird in the United States, and we can get permits with a lot of paperwork and red tape to use them for education or zoological display, but we cannot hunt with them. A lot of other countries have bald eagles captive bred and are able to use them for hunting as well. But we can't do it here in the States. Now, the only other native eagle we're technically able to use on paperwork, I don't know anybody who's done it yet, is the Steller's sea eagle, which is a cousin of a bald eagle. I don't believe we're allowed to get them from the wild, but it's a native eagle species that our more current laws say, hey, if you have one captive bred somehow in the States, you could purchase one, train it, and use it for falconry. But I don't know anybody who's done that so far. But I want to back up a little bit and tell you how this kind of came about. Years ago, it actually starts with Harris hawks for me. Years ago, I got my first Harris hawk. Her name was Maddie, or she was Matilda, and I called her Maddie. But she was a couple years old, and I bought her from another falconer, and it was his first general class bird. And he had trained her, and had done most of the things right, but he ran into a couple of little problems, behavioral issues here and there. And so he got a new Harris hawk, did everything right, and sold me this bird. And we did great, but her first year she had some issues, and so I wanted to kind of reset her brain. And so I did absolutely no rabbits with her our first year, and I just started hunting ducks. Canal ducks, almost exclusively canal ducks. And a lot of our irrigation canals locally have a lot of trees over them, and so I was mostly doing flights off the fist or letting her go up in a tree, and I would flush ducks towards her, and she would go the other way, take them down. She became very proficient at this, and would even do some moderate diving into the water after them, because ducks were known to, kind of duck under. The nice thing about a canal-type setting, or some sort of setting like that, it kind of keeps them pinned down. They would rather not fly. They would rather do a short burst flight and then go back in the water. That's a good flight for certain birds. Like a goshawk, sure, go ahead, keep going, and it'll chase. A goshawk could do great. If you had an open canopy, no trees at all, you want them to flush way up and have your falcon, peregrine falcon or a prairie or something, knock them out of the sky. That's an entirely different situation than what I had. Years later, I had worked with a few eagles for education, but when I got my first falconry eagle, and his name was Rage, and he was a jerk, tiny little thing, smallest golden eagle I've ever flown, but he had a lot of power off the fist. I was very impressed by this. And I got to thinking, I had used my Harris hawk to hunt geese as well. I used to have permission at a local community college that they would let me hunt the canals there. And also during the snowstorms, all the Canadian geese would come on these fields, and they had permission to go hunt there, which is great because these Canadian geese are like, yes, nobody will harm us. We're safe here. Ha ha ha. We're going to poop all over the grass and eat it. And I would just walk up, do, and she'd and grab them. And, of course, I had to run over quick She wasn't a very big Harris. But so I had this idea in my head of Harris hawks on canals, hunting ducks and hunting geese. Also would do this I'd get permission at golf courses in the winter. Nobody is golfing when there's snow, and the geese come up and tear up the grass. And so I'd get permission from golf courses to do that. And so I had this in my head to do it with a golden eagle. And now, pause. Most people who are aware of golden eagle's abilities, when they think of them in falconry, of course, the bread and butter of golden eagles is hunting rabbits. Jackrabbits and cottontails are the fare in my area. There's different species of hare around the world, but rabbits. And of course, they are famous for, like in Mongolia, being used to hunt foxes and wolves, and also in many parts of Northern Europe, they're used to hunt foxes and even roe deer, which is pretty amazing. They don't carry the deer away, but they knock them over and you go help dispatch the dinner, and that's quite the meal. So thinking of smaller prey might seem sort of strange. So let me explain first. Take a look at some of these pictures I have for you of golden eagle nests. So these are shots taken of nests where mom or dad have brought prey to the young to eat. So it's pretty impressive what a golden eagle is capable of catching. Even if these are exceptions to the rule, they were still accomplished. So this is a nest with a kingbird, very small agile bird, so fast that it is able to catch tiny flying insects out of the air and have a big old, I'm a bowling ball with wings, catch such a agile little bird. Pretty impressive. This is a nest that has a meadowlark. Again, a very agile bird that's impressive that a golden eagle will be able to catch and bring to its young. This one's a little odd. Has all those feathers are from an adult wild turkey, which is an enormous bird compared to a golden eagle and put a ridiculous amount of fight. So to be able to kill a wild turkey and get to the nest, pretty impressive. And you'll notice a baby badger. That's also rather crazy and impressive to tackle a badger of any size. And then this last nest is a golden eagle nest where you can see the blackbirds are ravens. Again, quite agile birds. There are gulls in there. All those lighter colored feathers in back are from seagulls. I don't know what species of gull, but gulls are very agile and very fast when they want to be, when they're being pursued. And the strangest of all, you see that the nest is filled with a whole bunch of juvenile gray foxes that all have some sort of a radio collar on them, which is kind of sad. Whatever biologist is working on that project and found out, oh, geez, all these foxes we had radio tagged were caught one by a golden eagle, brought to the nest. So we often in our heads will limit the capabilities of a species, and that's especially true with eagles. We're like, oh, again, bowling ball with wings. They're slow. They're not that fast. They're not that agile. Let them take these bigger, mammalian prey items. I get it. But again, you look at the nest and it's like, oh, geez, it starts to add up. It's crazy what they are actually capable of doing. So with that in mind, and having seen things like this and checked in nests and been impressed with what I'd seen over the years in these nests, I thought, I'm going to give it a try. And so with Rage, I was able to hunt ducks off the fist in canals and at both irrigation canals and canals at golf courses. And I was able to catch a few Canadian geese as well on the rise. Once they got up and going, he'd be like, nah, I don't want to bother. But if I could just get close, and one time I even did it in a golf cart. One of the people running the golf course was like, oh, we want to see this. Can we do this? I don't know if that counts as car hawking with a golden eagle, but it was pretty funny because the geese were used to those and just drive up and then boom, and whoa, whoa. It was impressive. That's not what this video is about. This video is not about hunting ducks and geese with golden eagles. It is possible. It's not their strength. If you really want to do it right, there's a lot of videos online of wild golden eagles diving way from high up and hitting geese down close to a river. That's just like hunting a falcon. If you're going to do that, you might as well do it with a falcon. But it is out there, it is doable, and then my version, kind of trying to do these sneak attacks, is possible as well, even though it's not leaning into the natural abilities of the species. There's going to be one in a few minutes I'm getting to that's my dream bird to hunt ducks with. So, but I want to mention bald eagles as well. That when we say eagle, in the United States, people who aren't in the know, taxonomically speaking, when we say eagle, we just picture an eagle as a really big raptor, like a golden eagle or a bald eagle, they're bigger than a hawk. And that's kind of the mentality of a lot of the general populace of the United States, which is understandable. Bald eagles and golden eagles are not closely related at all. Not at all. They may be somewhat similar in size, but not only in their way of life, but genetically, they are way distant branches on the raptor family tree. Golden eagles are aquila eagles. They're part of the aquila taxon, which is the true eagles. So that's your eagles like the golden eagle, the black eagle, the Australian wedge-tailed eagle, the tawny eagle. There's a whole list. The Bonelli's eagle. All these, those are the true eagles, and they're booted. They have feathers going all the way down until you hit the base of their toes. True eagles. Bald eagles are fish eagles, and not true eagles, actually. Bald eagles are, and the fish eagles normally hunt fish and aquatic prey. Their build is entirely different. One thing I absolutely want to point out is their difference. Aquila eagles, any bird called an eagle is big enough that it will capitalize on carrion. If there is dead food available, they'll go for it. And so sometimes people will rip on that. Hey, they're opportunists. But aquila eagles are built for speed, agility, and diversity of prey. When they take off, their necks are super close into their head to make them more compact and fast, and their wings for their size are comparatively narrow. And you might think they're not. You're like, I saw a golden eagle and it didn't seem fast. For their size, compared to like bald eagles, very narrow, very fast. Now, sea eagles, when they take off, their necks out and their heads down, almost like a vulture. Here's their head down here, and it's like roar, roar. Really strange looking if you actually are watching for it. And they have, I want you to see, take a look here, a bald eagle compared to a golden eagle, the secondary feathers. Now, this picture is folded up. So this is like from the elbow to the armpit. The secondary feathers on a bald eagle are ridiculously long. They come down much further. And you can see it from both angles. They are much longer. Now, you look at the primaries on the golden eagle, they stick way out because you need that agility if you're a golden, because you're going after prey that sees you. You're going after a rabbit, you're going after a meadowlark, you're going after a fox. It's like, and you've got to do this. If you are a bald eagle that's going after a fish in a proper hunt, you're like, oh, I see the fish. And you dive down. And you put out your feet and you catch it, and it's like, well, I don't know what sound a fish makes when it gets grabbed, but and here's the thing. Here's the important thing about this. Secondary feathers, ridiculously oversized secondary feathers. Their purpose with raptors is to slow you down without dropping. So with the shape of a wing, the more speed you have, the more lift you will just automatically have. But as you slow down, you drop. So having longer secondaries extends the lift part of the wing, the largest lift loading part of the wing of a bald eagle, for example. And what that does is, okay, we are going to slow down and catch a fish, and then we have abruptly taken on a lot of weight. And that should drag us down. So to be able to do that and then do a couple of good flaps and keep going without just falling in. It is very unusual for any sea eagle. Well, let me phrase that. Well, no, I'm going to stick with it. It's very rare for a true sea eagle of any kind to dive into the water. They try to catch things near the surface. It is ospreys, which I've done videos on before, that are the ones that dive way down in. Usually, if a sea eagle literally dives down in to grab something, then they kind of have to row to the side. They can't just like, well, I'm sitting in the water, woohoo, and fly out. They're not built that way. So secondary feathers that are oversized, ridiculously oversized, again, are meant to help a species slow down on prey that probably doesn't see it coming without losing too much lift, picking up a payload, and carrying on without falling in. Remember that, because we'll get to them in a second. Now, can bald eagles hunt ducks? Yes. In the wild, they do it. If you want, check out Rob Palmer's photography. He's a wildlife photographer and a falconer. And look through some of his stuff. He's got amazing pictures of bald eagles, both adult and juvenile bald eagles, catching red-shouldered blackbirds after the air. And it's an incredible photo. It's just these big old feet doing that. But so bald eagles can be nimble, they can be fast, they can be agile, but compared to a golden, their physical characteristics are built for a slower way of life. So again, these are not the species I'm talking about. But even when you look at their feet, you look at the feet of a golden eagle, long, very, very, textured feet, able to get a better grip, longer talons, longer feet, and just meant to grab something and exert so much pressure. Where bald eagle feet, they're kind of derpy. They're usually shorter. On top, they're a bit smoother usually. And you can also see from their heads what they're built for. A golden eagle has a shorter, stronger beak that is built for, hey, I'm tearing apart a deer, I'm tearing apart a rabbit. Where bald eagles have a longer, bare beak, which is there to be, hey, I'm eating a slimy fish, which is easy to tear apart, but I want to keep that slime as far away from my face feathers. It's easier to keep clean that way. It's easier when you feek and clean off your beak to get fish slime off if there's no feathers there. But these are not the species I'm talking about. I have to reference them because I've got a little bit of experience with them. And if you're in another country, I have talked to Canadian falconers who have hunted male bald eagles on canal ducks. That the ducks are coming on the rise and the bald eagles slam into them. It's doable. I don't have experience with that. My only experience has been with education training of bald eagles. So, but the species I want to talk about is my opinion, and stay with me because I'll tell you why. At first you want to think about it. And that is the African fish eagle. Now the African fish eagle, when you first see it, you think, that looks a lot like a bald eagle. Actually, it's not. As an adult, it has a white head and a white tail like a bald eagle, but the beak is far narrower and more diminutively built. And it doesn't just have... Bald eagles have a white head and neck. African fish eagles have a white head, a white neck, and half of their back and more than half of their front of their chest is white. And then their wings are black, with these red sections, almost like a Harris hawk on the side. And they look chunky. Any bird that has oversized secondaries is going to look huge. Let's take a look. This African fish eagle. Keep a look at those secondary feathers. Just like a bald eagle, they're oversized, but they're even more oversized than on a bald eagle, to almost a ridiculous level that they're really kind of covering up the tail. It looks like a big, solid, chunky bird. Like a bowling ball with wings. They're not. Under the feathers, African fish eagles are lerpy and gangly, kind of like a giant goshawk on steroids as far as the shape and proportions of their soft tissue, not counting the feathers. But, when they're all others, like, I look like a bald eagle with a skinny head. Kind of what they look like. But they're not. They're way more nimble. Unfortunately, unless you see them in person, most of your experiences is going to be like some National Geographic shot, right? With them cruising in with David Attenborough saying, "The African fish eagle is truly an inspiring predator, diving at aquatic prey that it snatches from the waters of Africa with the greatest of ease that can only be demonstrated by such a perfect apex predator." Okay, that's what we always see. Glorious slow motion video. But you know what? I've never been to Africa. I desperately hope I get to. But having friends who have been there and following other people's videos. And most of Africa, if there's water, there's African fish eagles. And they are everywhere and they are nimble. Now they can't do the bald eagle thing. They can't be like, okay, I'm going to come in slow. Good thing I've got these long secondaries to pluck a fish out of the water. But they also can just, their agility to turn on a dime is almost like a harrier. If you have ever seen a harrier hunting in the wild, there's harriers all over the world. So wherever you're at, I hope you have a harrier species and know what I'm talking about. Where they're kind of, I'm going over a field and listening, and then they'll all of a sudden, they just whoop, and they do a complete turnaround, and they pass prey, and midair, whoop, That is something that African fish eagles do all the time. That's not what's impressive. That's not my duck part yet. But you need to know, despite all these glorious video footage segments, it's like they are neat birds. Yeah, they can do the fish thing, but they're more agile than you think. And part of that is owing to their proportions are a bit way different. Bald eagle is built to conserve heat, and most of their prey, you're going after fish in cold temperatures, so they themselves, the fish reaction time is rather slow. African fishing eagles are in very hot temperatures, and their weight, the bulk of their mass, is up front. They have a much longer, if they actually stretch them out, their legs are much longer than a lot of other fish eagles. And so that helps them to turn on a dime. They can just use that as a fulcrum to flip. And it's like the front, up just around their keel is where the bulk of the weight is. And they can flip, they can be agile, they can be nimble, no matter what they're hunting. But the real reason why I think these would be the ultimate duck hunting eagle is because they are active and regular bird hunters. Now again, I don't have the footage myself, and I haven't been to Africa, but go online, and again, unfortunately, when you see most video clips on YouTube, even what I'm describing is still going to be in glorious slow motion to inspire us. Oh, nature in slow motion, fine. But look up videos of African fish eagles hunting flamingos and hunting parrots. A lot of parrots will eat seeds that are poisonous, and they get their nutrition out of it, and they're like, oh no, what's going on? Yeah, and that's not good. And so they will go to a riverbank side and eat clay in mass. Hundreds, thousands of parrots will just eat clay, and that clay will neutralize the poison and flush it out of their system, which allows them to eat otherwise toxic food. And these African fish eagles are like, and they'll just grab them. They just hunt these things like they're nothing. They just pluck them out of the air. And some of the greatest documentaries I've seen on them, that some of these pairs key in and hunt almost exclusively birds. From parrots to flamingos to species of ducks to species of storks even. And that's what they key in on. Because they're faster and more agile when they want to be, more nimble, and because that weight is so much higher and can flip on a dime like that, I think that makes them really good both for off the fist sort of canal style hunting, but also if you had sort of a canopy along a river or a canal and you just let them go up, and then same thing, you just flush, and guess what? If the ducks try to go under, it's a fish eagle, it can still get them. It's not going to be like, oh no, my prey went underwater. Wait a minute. It's great. I don't know anybody who breeds them in the United States. I've seen a few people online in the States here have them in educational programs. So I'm sure there must be some breeders, but I've never had the opportunity to work with one directly. So this is entirely from observation and understanding of the biology of the species. If you live in a country where you have them available, I would highly recommend giving it a try. In Southeast Asia, there are a number of similar built, usually a bit bigger, but similarly built fish eagles that are also equally nimble, agile, and have their weight way up here. Long legs that can flip them when they're midair to going back after it, and all that weight up top. Oversized secondaries, oversized legs, and rather short tails. So if you live in a country where you have any of those kind of more tropical species of fish eagles, they're totally different than, even though they're close cousins of bald eagles, they're totally different. Bald eagles are like, hello there, I can be fast, but I would rather not do so. Where these tropical and African different fish eagles, incredible. And I really think that going after ducks in shallow waters would be an incredible way to utilize this species. So let me know down in the comments what you think. Do you think that fish eagles could be good for such an endeavor? Have you yourself or know anybody who has had experience with golden eagles and bald eagles going after ducks? Have you done it yourself? And if so, please report to us. That would be great. Hope you enjoyed this video. Again, this is just kind of from the mind of Ben, something I've thought about for years, and hopefully I'll get the chance, but even if I don't, I hope others who have access to this species will take up the chance and give it a try. So, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, happy hawking.